These days, I'm really exploring traditional magic, for instance, and really taking a magic lens and applying it to Tantra, because Tantra is a magical tradition,
Yeah,
right? But we don't really have that language.
yeah.
But I think for me, it's helped me to get clearer about what's happening in the practice. And therefore, I've gotten clearer about how to create practices.
Well, so
Really.
Lamarad, we have all kinds of people, who tune into this. So sometimes I like to just add a little explanation of something for somebody
Yeah.
who may be less familiar.
Mhm.
So when you say Tantra, what do you mean by Tantra?
When I say Tantra, I'm speaking about the traditions that have emerged out of Southeast Asia, right?
All of them.
All of them,
Mhm.
all of them centered within, the practice of indigenous magic.
Would you say
Yeah,
shamanism is a tantric kind of?
yeah, yeah. Tantra isn't also not just limited
Right.
to Southeast Asia, but the spirit of Tantra, the essence of Tantra, is actually seen in all indigenous magical traditions. You know,
And can you kind of define that a little bit more? What is that essence? That that
The
that
essence, it's about actually developing a relationship to the phenomenal world, right? And learning how to ally with the phenomenal world, to create change, right?
Mhm.
To manipulate the
Mhm.
phenomenal world through practice.
And
Right.
manipulated towards what end?
Well, it can be any end.
Uh-huh. That's
Magic
what
is not a good or bad thing. It's just is,
that's
right?
been my experience with some of my shaman friends,
Yeah.
is that it's clear that there's not necessarily a bodhisattva element to it.
And it
There
doesn't,
usually
yeah.
is, but there's not necessarily that, so that they can sort of, you know, use the magic, as you said, in a variety of ways.
I think with indigenous magical traditions, I think we can't necessarily apply an ethical framework in the way that we understand ethics, right? Because root magic and indigenous magic is actually about balance,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can also argue that balance is an ethical,
Mm-hmm.
expression, but when we talk specifically about balancing, it's saying that like we have to kind of suspend what we think is right and wrong and
Mm-hmm.
actually center balancing. And sometimes to balance, we have to engage in things that may not appear to be right in our like ethical framework.
But
So
is there
it's
still a
challenging.
notion of motive? Like, for example, in the Buddhist
Yeah.
tradition, there's just such a foundation of motivational intention, alignment with a kind of, compassionate
Oh, yeah,
approach,
absolutely. Yeah.
bodhisattva vow, you know, um, and I have seen examples of some of those kind of energies being used without that level of refinement of the ground of motivation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
know,
it's still magic. I mean, it's still
yeah.
like again, it's not about right or
Mm-hmm.
wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm grounded, right, in the
Yeah.
bodhisattva, intention. Also, I'm also sensitive to balance as well. And I'm trying to understand the ethics of balance, right? So there have been, for instance, you move deeper into Tantra, like you
Mm-hmm.
move deeper into Tibetan rituals, which are not actually taught widespread. Like you actually
Mm-hmm.
have to be in like serious Orthodox training
Right.
to actually get access to these practices. And these practices are really quite challenging. Like if
Mm-hmm.
someone were just to see, even just a practitioner and the lineage were to see some of these things, they would be quite challenged, I think, to say that, oh, this is Buddhism, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But it's not just Buddhism, it's magic, it's indigenous practice, it's
Yeah.
ancient practice that's been so connected to the balancing of the natural phenomenal world.